Hi all, welcome to today's webinar on copy trading. My name is Sam Rudnick. I'm an employee of eToro. My title is AUM Growth Manager. So I'm responsible for managing for marketing the investment instruments on our platform, which is copying people and also investing in our copy funds. I'll be joined later by one of those people that you're able to copy on the platform. That's Fund Manager Zech from Singapore. I'm really pleased he's with us. He's going to be joining us via his webcam. Beforehand, there are many of you that maybe aren't familiar with eToro that haven't signed up. And even those people who have signed up to eToro, I think it's a good time to maybe discuss about the vision and how eToro was initially was started. So our vision, we were founded in 2007, eToro, to open the global markets for everyone to trade and invest in a simple and transparent manner. Previously, investing was done in rather secrecy. People didn't know what was happening with their own investments. Your money, I suppose, being invested by a fund manager, and you just find out your results, your profit and loss, and you didn't really have your own access to the markets and weren't empowered to do so. So our mission was to build a trading network, a global trading network, where people would be able to see what other people are doing, would be able to connect with one another, and therefore the wisdoms of the crowd, people would be able to therefore improve their investment and trading performance as a result of interacting in a large global network. So we've established social trading. eToro was the first of its kind to do so. And as you can see here, we have people can trade on their own in eToro. There's social trading where people can follow and copy other people, and we're going to show the product. And if people are online right now, you can go to our site eToro.com and you can relate to what I'm talking about as well at the same time. And we've got investing where you can actually invest in funds that we've built that are built upon themes, thematic investing, and also built upon traders on the platform, algorithms that we have established that we believe generate a long-term alpha in the markets, so a long-term profit. The World Economic Forum has done research on eToro, and they believe that social investment networks such as eToro are the future of traditional, what will become is the future of fund and asset management. Dr. Nouriel Roubini, world-class economist who anticipated the crisis in 2008, he anticipates that a third of all the millennials sort of will be investing via social and trading platforms in years to come, which is, when you think about 37% of people, that is a huge amount of people. So those of you who are not already connected to eToro or investing or trading on eToro, you may wish to consider doing so to be part of the future of investing. We already have 6 million registered users on the platform from 140 different countries. We've got 215 million trades have been opened. We've raised $62 million of capital. That's from banks such as Sberbank in Russia, Ping An in China, Commerce Ventures, that's which is the investment arm of Commerce Bank in Germany. So we've raised money from serious financial institutions that are also our strategic partners globally. As such, we have offices in London, Moscow, Shanghai, Tel Aviv, and Cyprus. We are regulated by the FCA in the UK, and we're also regulated throughout Europe by the Cypriot financial regulator, CySEC. And this is our geographical expansion. Gives you an idea of where we are today. And this is our latest platform, which we released 2 years ago. It's an all-in-one trading platform where you're able to execute trades in a second. You can sign up within just a few minutes. We'll go through the platform together in just a moment. You can access via mobile. Everything is done in HTML5, so there's no reason to download. You can access our mobile via mobile web, and what you see on desktop is exactly the same. It's the same holistic experience across all our product features. Now, the Popular Investor program, we also have a portfolio management program that some people have referred to as the Uber of finance, where successful traders who are experienced in the markets can come onto eToro, generate a profit, and then people will start to follow and copy them, and therefore we pay 2% of the annual assets under management, so the money that's being copied in these traders, out to them on a monthly basis. So some of our traders, there is no ceiling on what you can earn. So if you're managing several $1 million of AUM and you're a successful trader, you yourself can build a business on eToro. And of course, there are different levels. So once you get your first copier, you actually are able to get a spread rebate in real funds paid back into your account that you can withdraw or can reinvest into your eToro trading account. And there's different levels of the Popular Investor program. We're going to speak to one of the popular investors today who signed up to that program, FundManagerZech, who's with us. You can add different instruments to your watch list on our platform. So here's an example of that. You can add people to your watch list, so you can monitor their performance on a regular basis, and they come up on your feed. And this is our copy. If you go to our Discover People tool, you've got people who are featured. Here's our editor's choice section, the people who are given the most prominence. They're not necessarily trending, but they're people who over the last 12 months have brought consistent returns, and it shows how many copiers they've got. Here's an example as FundManagerZech, as Zeg Bing, who goes by the name of Zech. He's got 153 copiers from Singapore. Not necessarily the most copied on the platform. There are people with over 1,000 copiers. He's been with us for just over a year exactly. And so we thought someone who joined us for over 12 months would be a good person to speak with today. And he's a dedicated popular investor managing the funds of 153 people on the platform. So he'll join us in a bit via webcam. His feed is effectively how he reports to his investors. Rather than sending out an email and only a qualified investor, someone who's investing in him, can see what he's doing, he's able to write on his feed why how he's performed. He can provide monthly, quarterly summaries, and why he's opened a trade in his account, how he anticipates the markets are going to move, and as a result, he's got 10,000 people following the information and data he's generating on his feed. And we've got people who also followed by tens of thousands of people. So just been with us a year, FundManagerZech, and he's already got 10,500 followers and 150 people copying him with real funds. This is another example of your portfolio. You can copy people, invest in stocks on eToro. And an example of what your portfolio looks like. We'll go onto the site in just a moment. You can try all different types of markets, stocks, commodities, indices, ETFs, and also cryptocurrencies as well. Many of you may know what Ethereum is. It's a hot new cryptocurrency. You can trade that on eToro as well as Snapchat, which is here. Here you can buy Snapchat. I don't know whether you wish to do that or not. That's your decision. Certainly is not trading advice. And this is the statistics you can see of every trader on the platform. You can see how they're performed. And this is the stats of FundManagerZech, how he's performed. And you can also see his risk as well. You're only allowed to copy people on eToro that are responsible traders, that have a certain risk score on the platform. Someone that has a high risk score or medium to high risk score, you cannot copy because that you may be at risk of losing a significant amount of your funds when you copy them due to their volatile trading. And this is you just go to his page, to FundManagerZech's page, and if you wish to copy him, I hope you can all hear me. Let me know if there's any problems hearing me. Let me know if you've got any problems hearing me. I just got a message saying there may be a problem with the sound, so just let me know if there's a problem. If you wish to copy FundManagerZech, just click on copy on his page. You can deposit funds via credit card, and then you can start copying him. So that's how you copy a client on eToro. We invented copy trading, and so it's trademarked and patented. We invented copy funds, so we've built actually funds that are built on top of our popular investors. So the most talented traders on our platform, we've built an algorithm that's based on them, and you can then invest in those funds. It's $5,000 to invest in those funds. To copy someone, the minimum is $100. Many Pop investors would suggest you copy with a larger amount, particularly as they're low risk and they don't invest all their equity into positions. So we'll explain to you why that's the case in a minute. So you can invest in our funds as well. Top trader copy funds that are based on people on the platform, and market copy funds that are based on themes. So you can invest, for instance, in the banking sector. So we've built together JP Morgan, we've put into one, Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse. You can invest in all those banks into one market copy fund. Maybe you wish to invest in the game, so gaming technology stocks. We've package them into one bundle fund. You can invest $5,000 in all of those stocks in one. So we'll show you those in a moment. Here are the top trader copy funds. Take you to the site just now. Take you to the site just now. Just hold on one moment. So this is our homepage. You can join. It'll only take a few seconds, by the way, if you click join now. You can just create an account with Facebook. I'm just going to log into my account. And you've got your two-step verification as well. One moment, let me just open it. Open a new window as well. So I just got that on my phone just now. So you've got the two-step verification. If you wish to activate that, I'm not going to put in the code there while you're all watching. Hold on one moment, sorry. Here we go. So this is my account, by the way, that you can see. I've invested in 2 copy funds on eToro currently, which is the Gainers Quarter Fund and the Active Traders Fund. I'm trading 2 cryptocurrencies, Ethereum and Bitcoin. So this is our main page. Now if I wish to copy people, I can click on the copy people page, and I've got the editor's choice section here where I'm moving my mouse cursor, and I can skip across and I can then click on a trader such as Zech, who we're going to speak to in just a minute or two. That's just a heads up to you, Zech, that I'm going to connect you in 2 minutes. And if I can click copy here, and if I wish to copy him, I don't have any funds in my balance, but then I can click deposit, and it takes me to the deposit page. So that's what it takes me. That's the two-step verification. Hold on one moment. Sorry, don't want to. Hold on one moment. Just don't want to. Okay. Okay, so then I would deposit funds and I would start to copy him. What I can do is I've also got a virtual portfolio. So here I'm also copying a few different people. Some of them are making money, some of them I'm losing money. Overall, I hope to be profitable. So that's what it looks like when they're in your portfolio. When you start to copy someone on eToro, when they open a trade. When they open a trade that's 1% of their equity, it's 1% of what you're copying in them. So if I'm copying Zech with $10,000, and he opens, for instance, just 1% of his account, then that would be a $100 trade in my account. If he invests 10% of his account in Apple stock, for instance, then that means that I'll open up a $1,000 Apple position underneath his name in my portfolio. And I can see here, before I make the decision, I can look at what he's investing in. So he's actually investing in a copy fund, but also he's shorting currently the S&P, which will ask him why he's doing that at the moment. That's the main indice, one of the main indices in the US. He's selling the Euro USD. So he's invested 77. He's invested 23% of his equity, and currently 77% is sitting in balance. You can see his max drawdown, his risk score. So the lower the number, the less risk he takes in his account. You can see his average percentage profitable trade and average loss. So you can see he's very disciplined in regards. There's a very small delta between the average losing trade and the average profitable trade, and you can see that almost 70% of his trades are profitable. So I'm just gonna get him on. There he is. I can see. There he is. We've got him here. Hi,
Yes.
Zech. How are you doing?
Hi. Good. Everyone can see me, right?
Everyone can see you. They could see you. Can't see you anymore. But I'll
One
move
second,
it.
hang on.
Hold on. I'll see you in a second. They see you now. Just wait.
Okay,
Just loading.
great.
Now they see you. It's great. You look great.
Okay, great.
So, you just want to say hi to the audience here?
Yes, thanks everyone for joining us, especially those from Singapore. I know it's nearly 1 a.m. Yeah, so thanks guys for joining us. My mom's on, so hi mom.
Oh, great. I'm pleased. I'm pleased she's here with us. Great, great. I just someone said that the screen I was using was vertical. So I've just now moved it so it's horizontal. So the person, oh, let me just hold on one moment. There we go. So they should be able to see the screen slightly better now. Apologies about that, Akash. I will just go back to, you should be able to see the screen and Zech's page slightly better now with his risk score and stats. Pleased to hear Zech's mother is with us as well. Yeah, so maybe if you just want to explain to the audience a little bit about yourself, why you joined eToro initially, and yeah, what attracted you to eToro?
Okay, so I started with eToro, it's just about a year. I actually started as a copier, so I was like everybody else, I kind of wanted to join the program and join the platform and try and copy people who are very profitable. And the reason for that is I found it very difficult to trade and work at the same time. It was after a full day of work, you're very tired. You come home, you still have family things to do, and you still have other things to do over the weekends. So investing is very tiring. It involves a lot of research. It involves a lot of what psychologists call ego. So I wanted to find an alternative, and I didn't like the way that the finance industry kind of worked with the fund structure and all that. Yeah, so that's why I joined eToro. I believe eToro is really the future because even though we look at right now it's a lot of passive ETF investing, I don't think that will stay in style for very much longer. And I think eToro is going to be the future for that. Yeah, I think, am I allowed to talk about the ETF? Like why I shorted the
Sure.
S&P?
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so just to be clear, the reason why I shorted the S&P, I have a thesis that I wrote on my blog, which is available at my page over here. But really, it's a kind of a portfolio insurance. I look at it and say that the market is a little bit toppish to me. If it were to fall at any time right now, it would fall quite drastically. I mean, that's why it's called short. It takes a short period of time for the market to come down. It takes a very long period of time to go up. That's why it's called long. Yeah, so that's why I shorted the S&P. I believe it's going to come down. I put a stop loss at about 5% of my account. If I don't get there by the third quarter of this year, then I'll take my losses there. Yeah.
Sure, and I mean I see as well that when we look at we'll discuss it later. You're also selling
Yeah.
the Euro USD, so there's kind of a hedge going on there in terms of you're going long on the dollar, and you're also shorting the S&P. So it's in a way you've kind of hedged that decision. Would you say? Is that the reasoning behind that?
I have two different themes that are going on right now.
Okay.
One happens to be euro dollar weakness and dollar strength. So the way that I trade is what is called global macro. I like to look at themes or what the market is kind of telling us via the price. Do they believe in the US dollar? Do they not believe in the US dollar? And prices aren't always right. When there's a difference between what the market is telling you and what are facts, then that's what George Soros, who is probably the greatest investor of all time, calls reflexivity. And I like to find these reflexive trades because to me they make sense. I know when I can go in, when I can get out, and what I need to see to continue to stay in the trade. And that's how I've been trading. So right now my theme is I think a lot of attention has gone to the US dollar market with Donald Trump. Last week was the GOP, or last week healthcare reforms and all that. And this week we're all talking about President Xi and how he's visiting Trump and how things are gonna go. But really, I think what people are forgetting is that April 22nd this month, we are looking at the French elections. And French elections are, if you look at the polls, there is a chance that Marine Le Pen could win. And if she does, we're looking at France, who is one of the biggest nations in the EU, potentially leaving. And if that were to happen, I think we are looking at potential collapse of the EU. It's a very bold statement, I know, but it's kind of how I see the market. And if even the theme or the thought of it comes into the market, I think there'll be a lot of panic selling. So that's why I'm selling the euro at the moment. I have a lot of reasons why I'm long the dollar, but I think if I go into that, it'll take another 20 minutes.
I mean, even if Marine Le Pen does not become elected, but has a strong showing in the first round of voting, because the French election is 2 rounds,
Yeah,
then of course any uncertainty will potentially lead to the euro weakening. Potentially, I mean, obviously the market sometimes move in a different direction to how one anticipates,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
therefore even if she wins, I mean, even if she comes second, those 2 weeks between the first round of voting and the second round is at 10 days, we may see a lot of market volatility. So people
Exactly, yeah.
who aren't trading online or planning to trade online, you may wish to sign up to eToro beforehand. There'll be lots of, I'm sure Zech and other people will be generating lots of interesting information, and some of our French popular investors about what they think may happen in the markets and what positions they're taking. So Zach, let's move on to the next question
Sure, sure.
I wanted to ask you, and maybe people are interested to hear about. Why did
Right.
you decide to become a popular investor at eToro, and what are you getting out of it, and what's your aim and ambition?
I started trading quite some time ago, and I think one of the things that really bugs me about the market nowadays is, or has always bugged me, is there's a lot of information out there, and there's also a lot of misinformation. So for someone who is not financially trained to go in and try and dissect what is a good or bad investment is difficult. It's very, very difficult. So the whole reason why I joined eToro is it allowed people to copy me, and they didn't have to have a lot of money. You can start with $500, and and that kind of gives you an idea of how to start investing. So that to me was something very revolutionary, because if not, then you're kind of at it alone. And most people, what they do is just put money in fixed deposits or something very safe. In fact, if you look at the last Snapchat IPO, a lot of the average age to invest in the IPO is about 29 years old, and they didn't really understand finance, and that's why the share price suddenly tanked really badly. And I think it's to be expected as well. But yeah, that was kind of the journey that I took when I started investing. So yeah, I do genuinely want to help people, and I do genuinely want to be very transparent about the way I trade. I don't want to be a guy who just talks about, I know the economics, but I don't know how to place positions. So that's why I kind of have, when I trade on eToro, it's very, very public and everybody can see. And there's no hiding. If you're not good at trading, you're not good at trading. Okay, I also wanted to say that I started trading in 2008 thereabouts, and so one of the things that I saw was how a lot of people lost a lot of money very quickly. So that had a very significant impact on me. So then I wanted to show people that you can trade, you can have an but you have to look after your downside as well. To take a lot of risks for the potential of earning 30%, but at risk of losing your whole account, that's not really investing, it's not really trading either. So yeah, that's kind of the things I wanted to show I can do, and so that's why I'm on the eToro platform. Hope that answers it.
Sure, and you want to share with us your background in terms of academic background and your experience before trading?
Yeah, I have my diploma in banking and finance. My undergrad was in accounting, and I have a master's degree in finance as well. So I'm very traditionally trained in finance. I've had about 2.5 years to 3 years in investment banking. I was at first origination, and I moved on to the middle office. Yeah, and that's how it is. But when I first started trading, it was really when I was studying. So no real formal training. I kind of took a module in during my technical college. It wasn't much though, so after that everything else was self-learning. And to this day I'm still learning. There's so many things to learn about trading.
Right, I've just showing your copy chart, which
Sure.
is a simulation for people if they were to copy you with $10,000. It shows that they would have made a return of $12,155, so a net profit of $2,155 over the past year. If they were copying you with $1,000, obviously that'd be a $215 return.
Yep.
So this is just a lot of people may think that or aren't familiar with trading or investing. They see people trading making returns of 80, 90%.
Yep.
That a return of 20%, 30% is obviously quite incredibly impressive, especially on a consistent basis. So what is your annual profit benchmark? What would you suggest to someone would be a reasonable, realistic annual successful profit benchmark, and why is that the case?
Okay, for myself again, because like I said, I started in 2008, I'm very worried about the downside generally. If I have a drawdown of about 10%, I actually will lose sleep because it concerns me that my account is down so much. If you are a bit more, you're able to take a bit more risk, then you can expect a bit more returns. But again, how I handle $500 and how I handle $5,000, how I handle $50,000, I tend to treat it the same. So I always watch out for my downside. So my risk is usually about 1 to 2% of my account. My target aim for the year is about 15 to 20%. My dream would to be in the 30-30 club, which is 30 years of 30% performance. But in this day and age, that's a bit hard. So I'm gonna aim for 20-30 for now. So 20% return over for consistently for 30 years. That's the aim. Whether I can do it, not sure.
That would be amazing. I mean, let's not forget that if I'm copying you with $10,000 and I've made a yearly return of 10% over 10 years, I've actually, I've doubled my money. I've made a return of
Yeah.
100%. That's what people seem to forget. Therefore, it's a long-term copying on eToro is a long-term investment. You start copying someone on a platform, or you invest in a copy fund, and I'll clicked on our copy funds here. And once you
Yeah.
invest in a person or in a fund, you wish to maybe add funds over a quarter or a monthly period in order to compound your growth. So do you want to maybe discuss that, Zach, briefly? I know that's not something we mentioned, but maybe you want to discuss about you know how someone should copy someone, how long they should copy someone for, and when should they consider increasing their copy amount on eToro.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, I would never advise anyone to invest in something they cannot afford to lose. And I don't know your personal financial condition, so there are a lot of things that I may not be able to advise you. But what I can say is the power of compounding is one of what Warren Buffett calls magic, right? So, taking Sam's example just now, actually, if you put in $1,000 and I return 10% a year, you actually double your money in about 7 years, 7.2 years thereabouts, and you would double it again in 14.4 years. So if compounding is actually a very strong, especially if you have a very long time frame, can be a very strong how do we say it? It's a very good way to make money.
Sure, strong
Yeah.
strategy. Yeah. And what's your trading strategy? Do you wake up in the morning, make yourself a coffee, and look at the markets? Are you a Sunday man, looking at the markets on Sunday evening, getting ready for the week? What's your day-to-day approach to the financial markets?
Generally, I'm watching the markets, especially during the US sessions, because that tends to be a bit more volatile. But most of the time I spend doing research. I like to say that I spend 90% of my time doing research and only 10% of my time actually looking at markets. The 90% research is really looking for trading ideas. So that takes a bit of time because they're not screaming in your face all the time. You kind of have to go out and look for it, read, listen to podcasts, watch CNBC, that kind of thing. So looking for really good ideas is actually the really tough part of what I do. But yeah, I don't spend a whole lot of time looking at the charts unless it's market opening or inspecting volatile environments, that kind of situation.
Sure,
Yeah,
in regards to you mentioned you start with an idea. You're a
yeah.
macro trader, so so for people who are listening, so you look at fundamentals rather than technical analysis, or a bit of both.
I do a bit of both. Is something. There's another macro trader. His name is Michael Marcus, and he's a very, very successful macro trader. And what he kind of taught was the three-step analysis, which is start with fundamentals, you then look at the technicals, and then you look at sentiment. Sentiment's the most difficult, but it kind of is possible. You just gotta try and learn that. So once you have all three factors in your favor, then you go into the market, and that's kind of how I approach it. Technicals wise, that tends to be a bit tougher, so that's why you kind of have to watch times of extreme volatility, and you have to look at the economic calendar and look at when is prices going to move for you or against you, and what confirms your entry and things like that. Yeah, so it's a very long process, to be honest.
Sure, thanks very much. So in terms of um, you want to talk about the leverage you trade with, why you trade with that leverage, what that means in terms of your risk as well?
Okay, to me, leverage is it depends on how much I am looking at, or the levels I'm looking at trading. Especially for forex, you're looking at kind of say maybe it's 60 pips, maybe it's 120 pips. Whether I use 25 leverage or 10 leverage or 5 leverage, it doesn't really matter to me because the what concerns me is the amount that I risk. I cannot risk more than 1 to 2% of my account per trade. So if I have a $10,000 account, generally per trade, I will not risk something like $100, $200. If I really believe in it, then it's $500. And if I strongly, strongly believe in it, which is very rare, then it's 10% of the account, which is, yeah, if you have $10,000, it'll be $1,000. So that's always how I gauge risk and leverage. If I'm trading something a bit less volatile, then I can use less leverage, and especially ETFs, which is kind of expensive to leverage because of the nature of the instrument, then I try not to use as much leverage.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so adding leverage or trading with leverage, you're increasing, the profit margins, but obviously you're increasing, the risk of a greater loss as well. So what instruments and currencies are you looking at the moment? I know that you changed your strategy at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So what are you looking at the moment, and over the coming months do you anticipate you'll be trading?
Right now, my trade ideas, I'm kind of looking at oil. I'm looking at the Euro US dollar because that's existing right now. I'm looking at TLTs, which is long-term treasuries. That's kind of interesting and shaping up for me. And I am also looking at, what else am I looking at? Gold. Gold is quite interesting. The rest, when they appear, then I'll kind of take the opportunities to go in. But right now, those are the things that I'm looking at.
Okay, great. And is there any particular reason why you're looking at gold or oil?
Yeah, I do actually. Oil is one of those things. I'm not sure how many people on the webinar are very familiar with oil, but it's one of those things that has come down quite a lot. and most people, especially in the retail market or speculators market, expecting it to go back up. But I just got this idea. I was looking at CFTC data, which is the American Futures Exchange data, and if you look at it, all the all these speculators are expecting it to go back up, but all the insiders, all the companies, all the corporates are looking at it at going down. So there's kind of this disparity, and I think it could be one of the biggest short trades this year. It's bull call, but again, I still have to do some research about it. I don't want to go too much into it.
Sure. Well, I mean, what will be interesting is often, oil correlates, the price of oil decreasing, and we've seen in the last couple of years correlated with the S&P
Yeah.
as well, also dipping. So that's kind of fits into your pattern that we're on this kind of record bull run, and that if there is a market correction, then you're well prepared for that as well. If there's a correction in the market, and the market, I suppose, can't indefinitely go up. So at some point there will be a correction. It's just, I suppose, like you said, a matter of how long you're willing to hold on to those positions or hold on to that, hold on to a potential loss. But you haven't opened that oil position yet, so you're just waiting for the correct market entry.
Yeah, I mean that, and I haven't quite finished the research. It is shaping up, but I haven't quite got all the details that I want to. Regarding the S&P, I think there's so many factors that could cause this to just tumble. One is, President Trump. He's just the second president who's a non-politician who is now in power. The last one was President Hoover, and during his time he saw the Great Depression, so that's kind of scary. The market is definitely over leveraged, and whether you look at 2008, 1987, or 1929, those crashes all happened because of too much leverage in the market itself. So there are a lot of reasons why this could fall. Rising interest rates could also affect corporates. There could be the conglomerate boom, which we saw in I think it's 1960s. There are a lot of factors that could affect the US market right now, and so the risk factors are quite heavily in favor of coming down, but it obviously isn't yet. So yeah, there are many ideas around that.
Great, and you're currently up 2% this year,
Yeah.
Zach. What would be? Let's talk about what would be a satisfactory finish to 2017, depending upon two scenarios.
Right.
If there's a market correction as you anticipate, where would you hope to have where would you hope to finish 2017 in? And if there wasn't a market correction, where would you hope to finish?
If there is a market correction, I'm probably looking at 15 to 20, maybe 20 and upwards. If there isn't a market correction, because of the way my portfolio is weighted, I'm probably looking at something around 12 to 15%. So much lower if the market does not correct.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that's still a solid return taking into account last year you finished up 15% of what was very challenging market conditions. The
Oh,
markets from April to December, no one knew where they were going at all. I mean, the world was turning upside down, and not necessarily in a negative or a positive way, just things happening that were unexpected.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
I kind of lost, like, December, January, and February was such tough months for me because of just how volatile the market was.
And you have a message. There are people here on the webinar
Yep.
haven't signed up to eToro, maybe have during this webinar. I mean, time
Yep.
takes a couple of seconds, as I mentioned, and maybe they're looking to follow and copy someone on the platform.
Yep.
What would your message be to those people, in regards to copying someone on eToro?
I think if I were to say anything to new people joining the platform, one of the best things you can do is, if you can afford it, try and get a premium membership on eToro. My account manager, Bulos, has been absolutely fantastic. So the experience with eToro will be very different. Someone guiding you and telling you who are the good traders, or that's already out there, but you can tell them what you're looking out for, and they can help you. So if you can, I would definitely suggest doing a premium membership. But if you can't, just start, just try it. Again, this is one of those things I believe is going to be the future. I believe it's going to be a disruptor to what passive ETFs are doing now. Uh, so yeah, just try it.
Great. So, I mean, to be a premium client, you have $20,000 deposited on the platform, and you can get different benefits depending upon what you're doing. If you've got $20,000 invested in our copy funds and copying people, you'll have benefits that are suited to your type of client, such as you'll be invited to a call with our CEO once a quarter, discussing the fund's performance and also if you're copying people with that amount as well. So those are some of the benefits. And in terms of copying people, Zech, would you say that you should copying, is that an investment or is it trading? How long should one copy someone for? How many people should they copy? What would you use an analogy in terms of copying on eToro?
Uh, based on my very traditional training in finance, I would say that you should copy some very high risk people and some very low risk people, just so you can maximize your return on a risk basis. That's based on my traditional training. But what I must also say is you must really understand what the manager is trying to do. There's some, if the guy keeps averaging down, that's probably not the best place to be in, because he might just lose everything at one shot. But that's what the copy stop loss is for as well. So those things can help you. So again, I just advise you to just try it. Maybe 6 months. 6 months is a good kind of gauge to see how well the manager is doing.
Great. And in terms of the first, so like you mentioned, the first 6 months, you want to see how things are going, and then you'll decide from there.
Yeah.
And you said to look at maybe high risk, low risk people. When you say high risk, because you can't
Yeah.
copy someone who's above a risk score of 7 or above on eToro. What
Yeah.
would you define as high risk? Is there on eToro for
Uh,
someone?
I guess high risk would be someone with a risk score of 6. 6 is, I've seen some who have risk scores of 6 who take pretty high leverage and pretty high risk. This is all based on value at risk, so the amount that they trade tends to be a little bit higher. So those are the kind of people which I determine as high risk.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got a risk score of 3. Do you have a target in terms of maintaining a specific risk score, or is that just naturally happens in regards to your trading?
It naturally happens. Again, one of those things is I'm very worried about drawdowns, so I think my risk score would tend to be slightly lower, between 2 and 4. But that's generally because of the way that I see the market and how I trade. It tends to be a bit more conservative.
All right, sure, no
Yeah,
problem. So let's. I'm just going to go to some questions from some of the audience.
sure.
Um, someone has someone's asked a question here in terms of why he said I see you've invested in a copy fund on
Yeah.
eToro. What does that mean? What's the copy fund? Why did you choose that?
Sam, do you want to go over what copy
That's
fund
from
is?
Yeah, so sure. So I can explain that. That's from Michael. So I'll explain to Michael what our copy funds are, and then you can explain Zech about why you chose that
Yeah,
fund
sure.
as well specifically. So our Zech is invested in the Gainers Quarter Fund, which is a top trader copy fund. I'm going to click on it here. So that's built upon an algorithm whereby we've taken all the traders on eToro that are qualified to be copied, and amongst 200 different perimeters, we've come up with an algorithm that we believe will generate an alpha in the next quarter, so a profit in the next quarter. You can see we've done back testing as well in these funds, and we launched this specific fund that we're looking at in April of last year. And some of the April of last year, and you can see it made a return of 4% last year and 5% this year so far. You're probably wondering what's the difference between why we got different types of trader copy funds. So the different type of trader copy funds may be different depending upon the stop loss. So that each trader who's in the fund, they'll be stopped out if they make a 5% loss. Whereas the others will maybe have a higher stop loss. So ones will be maybe slightly higher risk, and ones will be slightly lower risk top trader funds. The aim is to simply generate an alpha on the platform, generate a profit over the long term, so 10, 15, 20%. That would be fantastic, of course, beating the benchmark. Zach, is there a reason why you chose the gainers quarter? There's obviously the active traders fund, there's market copy funds.
Yeah, at the time I was looking between the Gainers quarter and the active traders, because you guys were just launching the product, so I was quite interested. The active traders had a bit too much of the DAX, which I didn't like at that time. So that's why I didn't choose the active traders. It has done better than has it done better? Doesn't look like it.
So the active, they've pretty much in the end done about the same. Active traders is
Oh
up
yeah, okay.
6% this year after a very good strong month in January, and gainers quarter is up 5%. I believe I'm
Right,
right.
right.
Let me see. Yep, 5.85. So the gainers quarters is more months in profit, but more low stable profit, whereas active traders had a very strong January. They're both not correlated to the market. It's important that people are aware of that. They're based upon traders. So whereas our market funds are correlated to the market, if you, for instance, invest in the big tech market fund, which bundles all big tech stocks together, so you can see the different stocks that are in the underlying fund here. You can see Microsoft, Alibaba, Intel, IBM. If all those stocks were to drop, you'd make a loss. If they all go up, you make a profit. If some go down and some go up, and you've kind of built like a long short hedge fund, tech hedge fund. So that's correlated to the market. And if you believe in technology stocks over the long term, that may be an interesting fund for you to look at. Thanks, Michael, for that question. I hope that gave you a thorough answer. See if anyone else has got any questions. Hold on a minute. This is from Cyan. Hold on a moment. Sorry, just get this question open. Someone's asked this question. I'm not too sure if you can answer it with your strategy, but they asked, should we need to determine the high and low through the Heiken Ashi in an inter-day trade?
I don't use ASCII charts. I understand them. I've studied a little bit of them. I've studied a lot of technicals, but generally I don't look at those because I don't believe they work evergreen. They're not evergreen. There's certain market conditions where the ASCII works, the cloud works. There's certain conditions where it doesn't, and when it doesn't, you don't really know when it doesn't. You kind of have to have a few phases. Some technical analysis or people who specialize in technical analysis, they talk about regime changes. I tried to use them, but again, it's one of those things I'm not well versed enough to kind of use them in my trading, so I use quite simple technical analysis.
Okay,
Hope that
great.
answers it. Yeah.
No, that's sure that does. I think yeah, exactly. Telling everyone what you want to stick to, stick to what you know, I suppose, is the best. Was your answer there? I think we're going to finish off now. I know
Sure.
that there was someone who had a question about blockchain. Um,
Right.
and someone just asked a quick question about copying
Yeah.
works by percentages by amount. So, do you maybe want to explain what happens if someone starts copying you with $1,000 quickly, and what happens when you open a trade? I know I've mentioned that, but I know that Raf has just asked that question, so we'll just quickly answer that for him. Do you want to explain what happens?
Sorry, the question is what
What
happens
happens if
when.
he starts copying you with $1,000?
Okay.
What's the proportional trades? How does it work?
So the way it works is if I use 2% of my account to open a trade, then you likewise with that amount of money will use 2% to open the trade. So the copying is identical, and when I sell, you will sell at the same time as me. So if I make 10% off of that, and you will make 10% off of that, it will close simultaneously. So if I make, say, right now I have about $50,000 in my account. If I were to make a 10% trade and make $5,000, and you have a $1,000 account, you make 10%. That'll be about $100.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it. It's that simple, Raf. You can test it out on the virtual account here, like I'm doing. I'm copying lots of different people on my virtual account. Started copying them at different times to see what happens. And you can set your copy stop loss. So if you feel that if you want to stop copying someone when you're maybe losing 10 or 15%, then we call that the we call that the 2008 Bernie Madoff feature. So if you feel that you're going to be dumped, all the people who invested in that fund would have loved to have a copy stop loss rather than lose all the money. So you can withdraw your funds automatically from the copy and it goes back into your balance. So that's about it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send an email to popularinvestor@etoro.com.
Yeah.
If you've got any questions for Zech, maybe I'll forward them on to you from that email address if you don't mind. Zech's also got a website. You want to mention your website quickly to everyone here?
Yeah, it's my blog where it's at zechz.com. I just post kind of my theses. I don't write everything on it because most of my updates are done on the eToro wall, but if I write something really, really long, then that's at my blog, zechz.com.
Great. If you go to his feed, if you go to FundManagerZech, you go to Zech's feed, you'll be able to see all he writes in his feed and also his site as well. There you go, zechz.com. Here you go.
Yeah.
I'm just going over it, and he's written about in terms of his political outlook, what he mentioned at the beginning of the call.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I want to thank you so much for joining us, Zech. It's great to have your input. I hope
Yeah.
everyone here was able to learn a little bit about eToro. Feel free to sign up to the platform, and hopefully you'll all be copying soon.
Yeah.
All right, all the
Yeah.
best.
Yes,
Take
thanks for
care.
joining us. Cheers.
My pleasure.